Grace and peace to you. This is Reverend Dr. Kimberly Johnson coming to you this morning with another segment of 10-minute messages on behalf of the Fellowship of Women Clergy. We are celebrating our 10th anniversary, and we have done this with 10 weeks of 10-minute messages about women in the Bible. I want to thank all of the preachers who have gone before me, who have helped to make this anniversary celebration with you a success. So let me just call their names again. I want to call the name of Reverend Edna Hopkins Rozier, who brought us Naomi, of Pastor Crystal Goree, who brought us the Daughters of Zelophehad. I want to thank Pastor Donna Jones, who brought us Queen Vashti. How about Minister Vanessa Odin, who brought us a divine encounter with the woman at the well. Then we had Reverend Dr. Gail Davis, who taught us about Joanna. And then we had Dr. Lowe Banfield, who brought us Hannah. And how could we forget Reverend Dr. Charmaine Green, who talked to us about Shiphrah and Puah. And then we had Reverend Dr. Betty Wright Riggins, who talked to us about Sarai and Hagar. And then we had a wonderful presentation from Reverend Beatrice Ross, also First Lady, with For Richer or For Poorer, who opened our eyes about Job's wife. Then we had the wonderful Reverend Rochelle D. Hines, who brought us a message on Miriam. We had Pastor Valerie Andrews, who shared with us about Jochebed. Then we had the wonderful Reverend Shamisha Burton, who talked to us about Dorcas or Tabitha. And then Reverend Tamika Holder talked to us about Jephthah's daughter. And I just thank God for all of these women who have shared with us. I feel like I'm leaving somebody out. Reverend Cheryl Little, who brought us Deborah. We thank God for her as well. Reverend Mickey Davis, who brought us a word just before me on Monday. We thank God for her. We thank God for everyone who has presented and helped to make this a success. Thanks again to the wonderful committee who helped to plan 10-minute messages. So let me jump into the final word. I'm going to close this out with shut up or speak up. Shut up, hashtag, or speak up. So, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty this morning, but anybody that knows me, you know me, I don't let things like that stop me. So we're going to keep moving, and I'm going to give you our last 10-minute message in celebration of our 10-year anniversary. So, it's my task. Good morning. I see you all logging on. Logging on. Everybody that thought we missed it, they'll have to catch it later. Thanks for logging on. I am going to bring you our last 10-minute message. And when I tell you I wrestled with this, I wrestled with it. I want to introduce you today to RHODA. And my topic is shut up or speak up. Shut up or speak up. Let me read you RHODA's story, which is found in Acts chapter 12. Beginning at verse 12 and reading to verse 16. It says, as soon as he realized this, it's talking about Peter, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose other name was Mark, where many had gathered and were praying. When he looked at the outer gate, a maid named Rhoda came to answer. On recognizing Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed that instead of opening the gate, she ran in and announced that Peter was standing at the gate. They said to her, "You are out of your mind." But she insisted that it was so. They said, "It is his angel." Meanwhile, Peter continued knocking, and when they opened the gate, they saw him and were amazed. He motioned to them with his hand to be silent, and described for them how the Lord had brought him out of prison. And he added, "Tell this to James and to the believers." Then he left and went to another place. And I have read from the New Revised Standard Version. Many treatments of this text focus on the hilarity, and it is hilarious, of Rhoda's actions. She's the comic relief of Acts chapter 12, going to the gate, finding Peter there, who's escaping from prison, basically, and leaves him there instead of letting him into a place of safety, and runs back to tell the others, "Peter's at the gate, Peter's at the gate." It's amusing, right? But instead of focusing on that today, I really want to focus on the fact that Rhoda also needs to be taken seriously. She's very disrespected in this text. And I want us to look at why. The background of this is that the Apostle James has been executed. He's the first apostle to become a martyr. Other people have been persecuted, but this is the first time one of the apostles is killed. And then after Herod kills him, he arrests Peter also. And so the church is earnestly praying for Peter that he would be able to be released from prison, because they know the apostles are not invincible just because they walk with Jesus. They can be martyred just like anybody else. Hello to those who are saying Christians never go through stuff and we won't experience suffering because we follow Jesus. No, we will experience persecution and suffering also. So they are praying all over Jerusalem for a miracle. Peter has been miraculously released from prison before, so they know that God can do it. But they also know that the stakes are really high. They also know that he's in maximum security prison, if you will. 16 guards, 3 gates. He's in the belly of the beast, if you will. They don't want Peter to get out like he got out before. So everyone here is praying. They need a miracle. And the miracle happens. God sends an angel. Peter is released from prison. Where does he go? He goes to Mary's house. Mary is a wealthy woman, and that's where the church is gathered. It's a big place. And he goes there for refuge initially when he gets out. He goes to the gate. He's knocking at the gate, okay, which has a door in it. He's knocking at the gate, and Rhoda comes to answer. Understand Rhoda's role. When I read this text from the New Revised Standard Version, it referred to Rhoda as, what did it call her in this particular text? The servant, Rhoda, came to the door. A maid came to the door. But the fact of the matter is, Rhoda is enslaved. Can we just sit with that for a couple of seconds? Rhoda's in the church. She's not a maid the way we think of a maid. This text is sometimes variously translated servant. She's called damsel. She's called maid. But what it really means here is she is a female slave. She's an enslaved person. Even her name, Rhoda, was a common name for an enslaved woman. She is part of a subjugated, oppressed class. This is hard for many of us to hear. This is how I've wrestled with this text, because it would be very simple for me to come on here and in a 10-minute message just talk about how hilarious it was and how comical she was and how she fit into the church and all of that. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't gloss over that and be faithful to the text. So when I look at this passage, I see both liberation and oppression. Two of the books, resources that I looked at that I'll share with you that you can look at your leisure that really helped me to understand a little bit more of New Testament slavery are one, Craig Keener's commentary on Acts, the 2nd volume. And the other one is a book by Mitzi Smith, The Literary Construction of the Other in Acts. And the subtitle is Charismatics, the Jews, and Women. In this text, we see the intersection of gender age, and social status, which created an oppressive life for Rhoda. Even though she's part of a Christian congregation, even though she's there praying, even though she likes Peter like everybody else likes Peter, right? We can't ignore what her status was in life. Even though New Testament, ancient Roman slavery was not the same as U.S. chattel slavery in that it did not deny the humanity of people, it still was an oppressive system. It was common. Everybody seemed like owned people. I don't like calling people slaves. They're people. Even enslaved people could enslave other people. But let's look very quickly at Rhoda's story. It's her job to answer the gate. The doorkeepers were people considered of lower class in wealthy homes. That was their job. So she's doing what she's responsible for doing. She is excited to see Peter at the gate. And so she comes back and she tells them in her excitement, she leaves them at the door, but she comes to tell the rest of the church, Peter is here. Our prayers have been answered. And what do? They tell her, you're out of your mind. But the text says she insisted to them that it was so. And even when she insisted, they said to her, no, Rhoda, you're wrong. It's his angel. They disregard her testimony. The words of women were disregarded in this society, and the words of enslaved people even more so were disregarded. They were considered untrustworthy. Too often, age, social status, gender have kept people from being heard. Have you ever experienced being in a room and simply because of any of those factors, your age, your gender, your social status, you were not listened to? Come on, drop a yes in the chat. If you've ever had that experience, you weren't listened to. Have you ever been in a room with someone who maybe didn't know the answer, but you knew the answer and you gave it. You gave the best advice. You gave your wisdom. You shared out of your experience and you were disregarded. And soon as the person opposite from you, if you were a woman, soon as the man said it, if you're a person of color, as soon as the white person said it, if you were a child, as soon as the older person said it, everybody loved the statement. Everybody loved the idea. I know I'm talking to somebody today. Just drop a yes in the chat. If you've been there, disregarded because of status, social status, not God-given status, not what the Bible says, not what God says, but what humanity has said about you. How do you handle those experiences? Do you shrink? Do you stay silent? Do you walk away? Do you pray? Do you lash out? What is it that you do? I want to encourage us today not to shut up, but to speak up. Come on, bring your brilliance, bring your ideas, bring your experience, bring your knowledge, bring your voice. I don't care if it's a little voice or a loud voice. Bring what you think, what you feel to the table. Whatever that table may be, speak up. Lean in, change your tone, do it. You don't have to be silenced. Listen, they went to the door and let Peter in. Oh, then they believed him. I wonder if anybody apologized to Rhoda. I wonder if anybody said, Rhoda, we should have believed you. Sorry, we regarded you as insane. I wonder. But let me tell you something. If people never apologize, if people never go back and affirm your truth, continue to stand in your truth and to speak up. This is my message to us today. Don't shut up. Speak up. God bless you. God bless you.